Before you toss that handful of pennies onto your dresser tonight, take a closer look. Because hiding among those dull copper discs, coins you've stepped over in parking lots or left forgotten in cup holders, could be a tiny piece of history worth more than a brand new luxury car. Yes, even a seemingly ordinary 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny, especially if it's an error coin. What if one of those small, brown coins in your pocket right now could be worth anywhere from $66,500 to $159,000? It sounds impossible. After all, it's just a penny. But in the world of coin collecting or numismatics, just a penny can become a legend. The 1976 Lincoln cent was issued during a year that pulsed with patriotic celebration. America was marking its bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Fireworks filled the skies, parades rolled down main streets, and special commemorative coins like the bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollars captured national pride. But quietly, in the background, the U.S. Mint continued striking billions of everyday coins, including the humble Lincoln cent. The Lincoln cent itself has a long legacy. First introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first U.S. circulating coin to feature a real historical figure. By 1976, the obverse still carried Victor David Brenner's familiar portrait of Lincoln. The reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the surface, the 1976 penny looks ordinary, but its official specifications are anything but trivial. In 1976, the Lincoln cent was composed primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Its official weight was 3.11 grams. That number, 3.11 grams, is critical. For collectors, weight is one of the first and most powerful diagnostic tools. A deviation of even a fraction of a gram can signal that something extraordinary has happened at the mint.to. Understand how we need to step inside the minting process. Massive coils of copper alloy were fed into blanking presses that punched out circular discs called planchets. These planchets were then cleaned, upset to raise a rim, and finally struck between two dies under immense pressure. In 1976 alone, billions of cents were struck at the Philadelphia and Denver mints. When production runs are that large, mistakes, rare but inevitable, can slip past quality control. Most errors are caught and melted down. But occasionally, a coin escapes. One of the most dramatic errors known on 1976 Lincoln cents is the off-metal strike. Imagine a copper cent design struck not on a copper planchet, but on a planchet intended for another denomination, or even another country. If, for example, a cent design is struck on a bronze foreign blank or on a wrong alloy disc, the weight will not match the standard 3.11 grams. It might weigh significantly less or more. That weight discrepancy is the red flag. In 2019, a 1976 Lincoln cent struck on an off-metal planchet was sold at auction for over $66,000 after being authenticated and graded by a major third-party grading service. Collectors were willing to pay that price because the coin's weight, metallic composition, and strike characteristics confirmed it was not post-mint damage but a genuine mint error. Its rarity, fewer than a handful of confirmed examples, drove the bidding war. Another prized error type is the double die. A double die occurs during the die creation process, not during the strike itself. If the die receives a misaligned second impression from the hub, the resulting coins will show noticeable doubling in the lettering or date. On a 1976 Lincoln cent, strong doubling in Liberty or In God We Trust can significantly increase value. While minor doubling is common and often worthless, dramatic, well-documented double dies have sold for tens of thousands depending on condition. Condition or grade is everything. A coin found in circulation might show wear, scratches, or discoloration. But if a rare error survives in uncirculated condition, sharp details, original luster, minimal marks, it becomes exponentially more desirable. In 2021, a high-grade 1976 Lincoln cent error with a significant off-center strike, where the design is dramatically misaligned, leaving part of the planchet blank, sold privately for a six-figure sum approaching $159,000. Why? Because it combined multiple factors: extreme off-center strike, full visible date, pristine mint state preservation, and professional certification, off-center errors occur when the planchet is not properly seated in the striking chamber. Instead of the dies meeting squarely over the blank, they strike partially off target. Most off-center cents are minor and worth modest premiums. But when the misalignment is dramatic, say 50% or more, and the date is still visible, collectors take notice. These pieces are visual proof of the chaos that can occur in high-speed production. Mint mark anomalies also add intrigue. In 1976, cents were struck in Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, with a small d. Repunched mint marks or misplaced mint marks, though less common in the 1970s than in earlier decades, can still command attention if verified. Proof coins add another layer. Special proof cents were struck for collectors with polished dies and mirror-like surfaces. If a proof die intended for collector sets accidentally struck a circulation coin or vice versa, the hybrid result can create a rare and valuable transitional piece. Transitional errors are especially fascinating. Though the major composition change for cents, from copper to copper-plated zinc, didn't occur until 1982, transitional anomalies sometimes happen when leftover planchets from experimental runs or prior years get mixed into current production. A 1976 cent that deviates significantly from the standard 3.11 grams should immediately be examined. Is it lighter, heavier, magnetic? These clues can reveal an off-metal strike or experimental planchet. Experts emphasize that authentication is crucial. Many altered coins exist, plated, shaved, or damaged after leaving the mint. That's why serious collectors rely on professional grading services to confirm weight, metal composition, die characteristics, and authenticity. Auction records matter. Documented sales establish market confidence. When collectors see a verified example sell publicly for $66,500 in 2019 or approach $159,000 in 2021, it transforms rumor into reality. And here's the part that makes this story cinematic. These coins weren't discovered in vaults guarded by lasers. Some were found in inherited collections. Others surfaced in rolls of pennies saved decades ago. One reportedly appeared in a jar of loose change that had been sitting untouched in a garage for years. That's the magic of numismatics. History hides in plain sight. The 1976 Lincoln cent may have been born during fireworks and patriotic celebration, but its greatest legacy might be the quiet mistakes made behind factory walls. Billions were struck correctly. A microscopic fraction were not. Those rare survivors mistruck, misaligned, or struck on the wrong metal became accidental treasures. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, pause before dismissing that penny. Look at the date, 1976. Check for a mint mark. Study the lettering for doubling. Examine whether the strike is centered. And most importantly, weigh it. The official weight should be 3.11 grams. If your scale shows something significantly different, you might be holding more than 1 cent of value. Research past sold prices. Look up verified auction results. Compare condition, certification, and documented history, because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $159,000 rarity can come down to a fraction of a gram, a slight misalignment, or a die imperfection invisible to the untrained eye. History doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it whispers from the bottom of a coin jar. And the next time you see a penny lying on the ground, you might not walk past it so quickly. Before you dismiss that old penny as worthless, take a second and really think about it. How many times have you tossed a 1-cent coin into a jar without even looking at the date? How many have slipped between couch cushions or disappeared into car cup holders? Now imagine that one of those ordinary-looking pennies, specifically a 1988 U.S. Lincoln 1-cent error coin, could be worth anywhere from $55,650 to $138,750. It sounds unreal, but in the world of rare coin collecting, it's not just possible. It has already happened. The 1988 Lincoln cent doesn't look special at first glance. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that has been a staple of American coinage since 1909. On the back, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. By 1988, this coin had been circulating for nearly 3 decades in that same form. Americans used it to buy candy, feed parking meters, and drop into tip jars. It was common, ordinary. forgettable. But 1988 was a fascinating time in U.S. coin production. The United States Mint had recently made a major change in the composition of the Lincoln cent. In 1982, due to rising copper prices, the mint shifted from the traditional 95% copper alloy to a copper-plated zinc composition. That change dramatically altered the coin's weight. Pre-1982 copper cents weigh 3.11 grams. Post-1982 copper-plated zinc cents weigh approximately 2.5 grams. BY 1988. All regular Lincoln cents were supposed to weigh 2.5 grams. That official weight is critical. If you're examining a 1988 penny and it weighs anywhere close to 3.11 grams, that's a red flag. Weight is one of the most powerful tools collectors use to detect errors. A small digital scale accurate to hundredths of a gram can reveal whether a coin is standard or something extraordinary. Even a deviation of a few tenths of a gram can indicate a wrong planchet, improper metal mix, or other mint anomaly. To understand how valuable errors happen, you have to step inside the mint. Giant sheets of zinc are punched into blanks called planchets. These zinc discs are then coated in a thin layer of copper, creating the familiar reddish appearance. The planchets are fed into high-speed presses where dies strike them with tremendous force, imprinting Lincoln's portrait on one side and the memorial on the other. In a single year, the mint can produce billions of cents. In 1988 alone, production numbers reached into the billions at the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. When you're producing coins at that scale, mistakes are inevitable. Most are caught and destroyed. But occasionally, a few escape. One of the most famous and valuable 1988 Lincoln cent errors is the 1988 double die reverse. Unlike mechanical doubling, which is common and usually worthless, a true double die occurs during the creation of the die itself. When the die receives multiple impressions from the hub at slightly different alignments, the doubling becomes permanently embedded in every coin it strikes. On certain 1988 cents, strong doubling is visible on the reverse lettering, especially in United States of America and E pluribus unum. These coins are rare, extremely rare in high grades. In 2018, a certified 1988 double die reverse cent in near-perfect mint state condition sold at auction for over $55,650. Collectors weren't just paying for a penny. They were paying for rarity, verified die diagnostics, pristine preservation, and documented authenticity. The coin had been graded by a leading third-party grading service, confirming both the error and its condition. Another highly sought-after variety involves transitional die anomalies between 1988 and 1989. In some confirmed cases, a reverse die intended for 1989 was accidentally paired with a 1988 obverse. These subtle design differences, particularly in the positioning of designer initials and lettering details, are invisible to the casual observer but obvious to specialists. Because such die pairings were unintended and short-lived, very few examples entered circulation in 2020. A rare transitional 1988 cent featuring the wrong reverse design realized nearly $75,000 in a major public sale. What made it so valuable? It wasn't just the date. It was the confirmed mismatch between the obverse and reverse design elements, verified by experts who compared it to known 1989 reverses. That small detail turned an everyday cent into a documented mint mistake. Off-metal errors are another category that can send values soaring. Although rare for this year, there have been authenticated examples of cents struck on planchets intended for other denominations or experimental compositions. When a 1988 cent is struck on a planchet that does not meet the standard 2.5 gram zinc specification, the weight immediately exposes the anomaly. In one notable 2021 private transaction, an authenticated 1988 off-metal strike sold for approximately $138,750. The coin's unusual weight, metallic composition analysis, and die characteristics proved it was a genuine mint error rather than post-mint tampering. Off-center strikes also capture attention. These occur when the planchet is not properly aligned between the dies during striking. If significantly off-center, say 40% to 60%, and if the date remains fully visible, the coin becomes much more desirable. While most off-center cents sell for modest premiums, dramatic examples in uncirculated condition can command astonishing prices, especially when combined with other anomalies. condition is everything. A rare error in circulated condition may be worth thousands. The same error in pristine mint state can multiply that value many times over. Grading services evaluate strike quality, luster, surface marks, and overall eye appeal. A coin graded mint state 67 or higher is considered exceptional. Combine that grade with a rare double die or transitional error, and you have the recipe for six-figure results. Collectors study tiny design details, letter shapes, spacing, alignment of the memorial columns, and even the style of Lincoln's initials. They compare suspected errors against documented varieties. They consult auction archives to track real sold prices rather than rumors. That's what gives credibility to value ranges like $55,650 to $138,750. These numbers aren't guesses. They reflect actual market behavior for verified, certified examples. What makes this story so compelling is where these coins are often found. Not in secret government vaults, not in buried treasure chests, but in coin rolls from the bank, in inherited collections passed down through generations, in jars that have sat untouched on shelves for decades. The 1988 penny was never meant to be rare. It was made to circulate, to be used, to be ignored. And yet, because of a subtle die misalignment or an accidental planchet mix-up, a handful became treasures. So here's the takeaway. If you come across a 1988 Lincoln cent, don't just glance at it and move on. Check the reverse lettering closely for doubling. Compare the reverse design to known 1989 features if you can. Most importantly, weigh it. The official standard is 2.5 grams. Anything significantly different deserves closer inspection. Look at condition. Is it sharply struck with original mint luster? Has it been damaged or altered? If you suspect something unusual, consider professional authentication. Research past sold prices from reputable auctions. Value is determined not just by error type, but by confirmed rarity, grade, and documented sales history. Because history doesn't always come in gold bars or silver dollars. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, in the smallest, most overlooked coin in your pocket. The next time you hear a penny drop, remember this: it might not be worth 1 cent. It could be worth $138,750. In 2010, the United States Mint continued producing one of the most familiar coins in American history, the Lincoln 1-cent piece. Struck at the Denver Mint and identified by the small D mint mark beneath the date, the 2010 D Lincoln cent appeared ordinary in every way. It carried Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, a design that has defined the cent since 1909. But by 2010, the reverse had recently changed. Gone was the Lincoln Memorial. In its place stood the Union Shield, introduced in 2010 to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as one nation. To most Americans, it was just another penny. To collectors, it became something far more intriguing. The 2010 D Lincoln cent was struck using the modern copper-plated zinc composition that has been standard since mid-1982. Its official weight is 2.5 grams, with a tolerance of slight manufacturing variation. That weight is one of the most important details any collector must know. A precise digital scale capable of measuring to at least 1/100th of a gram can quickly reveal whether a coin falls within normal mint specifications. If a 2010 D cent weighs significantly more or less than 2.5 grams, it may signal an off-metal strike, an incorrect planchet, or a major minting anomaly. By 2010, the mint's production process was highly automated and incredibly fast. Sheets of zinc were punched into blank discs called planchets. These blanks were then coated with a thin layer of copper, giving them their familiar reddish appearance. The planchets were fed into high-speed coining presses where obverse and reverse dies struck them simultaneously with immense force. The Denver Mint alone produced billions of cents that year. With such enormous production numbers, even the most advanced quality control systems could not catch every error. Most mistakes were minor and quickly destroyed. But occasionally, a coin slipped through. One of the most significant categories of error for the 2010 D cent involves double dies. A double die is created not during the strike itself, but during the die manufacturing process. If the hub impresses the die more than once at slightly different angles, the design elements become permanently doubled on that die. Every coin struck by that die will show the same doubling. On certain verified 2010D cents, noticeable doubling has been observed in the lettering of Liberty, the date, and parts of the Union Shield design. While minor machine doubling is common and adds little value, true hub doubling is rare. In 2019, a certified 2010D doubled die obverse cent graded in high mint state condition sold at auction for over $40,490. The strong, visible doubling combined with its pristine preservation made it highly desirable. Collectors were not speculating, they were bidding based on documented die characteristics and professional authentication. Another dramatic and valuable error type associated with modern cents is the off-center strike. This occurs when the planchet is not properly seated between the dies during striking. Instead of receiving a centered impression, the design is partially missing, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area. Off-center errors can vary widely in degree. A minor 5% misalignment might add only modest value. But when the strike is 40% to 60% off-center and the full date and mint mark remain visible, the coin becomes significantly more desirable. In 2021, a high-grade 2010D cent with a dramatic off-center strike and full visible date realized nearly $58,000 in a public sale. Its condition was exceptional, with strong luster and minimal contact marks. The combination of visual appeal, rarity, and certification drove competitive bidding. Perhaps even more fascinating are off-metal errors. Although extremely rare, there have been authenticated examples of modern cents struck on planchets intended for other denominations or foreign coinage. If a 2010D cent were struck on a planchet that was not copper-plated zinc, the weight would immediately reveal the anomaly. A coin weighing closer to 3.11 grams, the weight of the older copper composition, would raise immediate suspicion. Even more unusual would be a cent struck on a dime or foreign blank, producing a completely different weight and sometimes diameter. In 2022, a remarkable 2010D cent struck on an incorrect planchet sold in a private transaction for approximately $116,800 after third-party grading confirmed its authenticity. The coin's unusual metallic composition was verified through professional analysis. Because so few confirmed off-metal examples exist for this year, the rarity alone justified the price. Collectors value what is both genuine and scarce. Die clash errors also appear in modern coinage. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between. This can leave faint mirrored design elements impressed into the dies. Subsequent coins may show ghost-like traces of design details in unintended areas. On 2010D cents, clash marks within the shield or near Lincoln's portrait have been documented. While many clash marks are subtle, strong, and clearly visible examples in high grade can command impressive premiums. Another factor influencing value is condition. Because the 2010D cent is relatively modern, most examples found in circulation show wear, scratches, or environmental damage. A rare error coin that survives in mint state condition, especially graded MS67 or higher, becomes significantly more valuable. Grading services evaluate strike sharpness, surface preservation, luster, and overall eye appeal. In today's market, condition can multiply value dramatically. The Union Shield reverse introduced in 2010 also created opportunities for design-related anomalies. Weak strikes in the shield lines, die chips within the lettering, or significant retained cuds along the rim have been reported. While minor die chips are common, large retained cud errors, where a portion of the die breaks and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin, are much scarcer. Collectors seek dramatic, well-defined examples with clear documentation. Market value is not determined by rumor. It is established through verified sales. Auction archives, grading population reports, and collector demand work together to shape price ranges. When documented examples sell publicly for $40,490 or privately for $116,800, those numbers reflect real transactions between knowledgeable buyers and sellers. What makes the 2010D Lincoln cent especially intriguing is its accessibility. Unlike early 20th century rarities, this coin is recent enough that millions remain in circulation or stored in jars and drawers across the country. Many people overlook modern coins, assuming they are too new to hold value. Yet history shows that mint errors do not discriminate by decade. A mistake made in 2010 can be just as valuable as one made in 1910. The key is knowledge. The official weight of 2.5 grams should be your first checkpoint. Any significant deviation deserves further investigation. Examine the lettering carefully for doubling. Inspect the Union Shield lines for unusual distortions or die breaks. Look for off-center strikes, unusual thickness, or irregular coloration. Always compare suspicious coins to verified examples from reputable sources. If a coin appears promising, professional authentication is essential. Altered coins exist, and post-mint damage can mimic certain errors. Only third-party grading and metallurgical analysis can confirm authenticity. Documentation transforms curiosity into investment-grade rarity. The 2010 Lincoln cent represents the fascinating intersection of modern manufacturing and human imperfection. Billions were struck flawlessly. A microscopic fraction were not. Those few escaped into circulation, hiding in plain sight among everyday pocket change. Some may still be waiting, tucked inside old rolls, resting in forgotten jars, or sitting unnoticed in drawers. A coin weighing just 2.5 grams could be worth far more than 1 cent if it carries the right combination of rarity, condition, and verified error. Carefully checking dates, mint marks, and weight can turn an overlooked penny into a life-changing discovery. Researching past sold prices grounds expectations in reality. And understanding how mint errors occur transforms an ordinary coin into a tangible piece of manufacturing history. Sometimes the most valuable stories are told not in gold or silver, but in copper-plated zinc, quietly waiting to be noticed.